If you have ever endured high school English, you of course had one section of poetry appreciation. Some of you really came to like it, and you maybe even came to the point where you read it for pleasure, not just as an assignment. And possibly some of you have even bought books of poetry. Others, myself included, sort of tolerated poetry. Some of us have the soul of an accountant. We are not poetic types by nature. And yet, even people like me can come to appreciate poems. And if you have endured high school English, probably about your sophomore year, you were introduced to the poems of one of America's, I'm sure, top 5 poets, Robert Frost. He's a flinty New Englander, wonderful, gentle spirit, and wrote some of the most memorable lines ever uttered in the English language. Robert Frost just had a graceful way with the turn of a phrase. And if you haven't already, you probably will hear some words of his, and for sure you're going to hear one today, because one that's stuck in my head, probably not only because of its subject matter, but because of its shortness. You know, brief is always better. Short is always better than longer. I know you're going to say, well, Pastor Mark, why don't you take your own advice? Okay. All right. This is a little poem that stuck in my head long ago for those two reasons, subject matter and brevity, and it's by Robert Frost, and I'm going to share it with you this morning. It's called Fire and Ice. Do you know it? Who's heard it before? Raise your hand if you heard that one before. Oh, a lot of you. Okay, your memories of sophomore English are still pretty vivid. Here's how it goes. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. The end. Robert Frost was concerned about the end of the world. It's a gloomy thought. What will happen to our planet? What will happen to our solar system and universe? And he said, people say it will end in one of two ways. One is by fire, but when he talks about hate and desire, I think he means fire in that we're going to burn ourselves up. Frost had to live through some brutal world wars in which it looked as though we might just destroy ourselves and our habitat as well. Anyone who has memories of or even has read about the fearsome power of nuclear weapons, in the 50s and 60s, this weighed heavily on all of our minds. And we thought, if one bomb on Hiroshima could kill almost 100,000 people and then leave the rest of them with radiation sickness, what would happen if there were hundreds of these weapons all launched? There seems to be no way to stop them. We could just burn ourselves, incinerate ourselves. In fact, there already is enough power in the nuclear warheads that various powers have to incinerate our planet. You know that, right? So that's what he meant. It could be that we're going to sizzle ourselves up by our own warlike stupidity. Or the flames of the sun that are the energy source for all human and animal life and plant life on this planet. At some point, the fuel that fires that gigantic gas ball in the sky 93 million miles away from Earth, those fires, that fuel may give out, and the light and warmth of the sun will get dimmer and colder. Fortunately, there's plenty of fuel that you and your kids and grandkids are covered. But at some point, physicists estimate that the fuel of the sun will expire. And so as the sun gets darker and colder, so will we on this planet. So he said, maybe we're going to freeze out, and a new ice age will begin where there is no exit, and we'll all just slowly freeze to death, and human life and animal life will come to an end. Neither happens to be correct. In fact, his first guess happens to be the right one. In fact, This earth is doomed. It does not have an indefinite future. This planet is going to come to an end, and in fact, it is going to be by fire, Robert, not ice. But not the fire of nuclear war, a different kind of fire. And the only person who is authorized to give out real information about the future of planet Earth is God, and speaking through his chosen prophet, the Apostle Peter. He's got some information you need to know about the future of our planet.